Adventure. An unusual, exciting and possibly dangerous activity, such as a trip or an experience, or the excitement produced by such an activity. If that is what adventure is, motorcycle adventure is simply the addition of one engine, two wheels and a tank of petrol to take you wherever your adventure leads. Royal Enfield made this bike to tackle some of the toughest roads in the most remote places in the world. The Himalayan is tough, solidly built, constructed to take a kick in the teeth and get back up again, bruised but not beaten and ready to go another round. 2021's latest adventure bikes feature 6-axis IMUs, full suites of electronics, traction control systems, heated grips, cruise control, satellite navigation and self-adjusting suspension systems. They even incorporate telephone systems connecting you right back to the madness your adventure is designed to take you away from. The Himalayan has none of this. A simple engine, a throttle and clocks that tell you everything you need to know, everything you need and nothing you don't. Riding the Himalayan isn't about taking a heated safety blanket with tour guide included, it's about getting out there and doing it. And how does the Himalayan perform at the task in hand? My initial impressions had me instantly confident on the Himalayan. While it's 199 kilos wet, it doesn't feel it. It's really easy to manoeuvre, has a great turning circle, the seat is low, making paddling with your feet very easy, and the whole package feels light and manageable. Before we'd even taken it out, I had a higher degree of confidence than I have on bigger adventure bikes, a feeling that I could take the bike anywhere and whatever mess I get myself into, I'm pretty confident I could get myself out of it. And that first impression basically sets the scene. Everything is possible on the Himalayan. It's not a motorcycle that dominates or dictates your adventure, you decide where you go and the Himalayan will go with you. Taking the Himalayan up Hard Knot Pass, the steepest road in England, the Himalayan took it all in its stride. Its rugged adventure aesthetics fitting perfectly with the landscape there. Incredibly easy to ride on the road, the handling is great, planted in the corners with very well damped suspension making light work of anything you throw at it. The 21-inch front wheel not affecting the road going handling at all. It's also a really comfortable place to be. A very upright riding position and a spongy seat combine to make a great experience on short and long trips. Low speed manoeuvrability is excellent, with ergonomics that make the bike the perfect steed for shimmying your way through traffic and turning in tight spaces. The Himalayan would make a lot of sense in an urban environment. Like all Royal Enfields, they do run the risk of feeling underpowered on our fast UK roads. It's 400cc single, producing 24 horsepower and 32 Nm of torque. However, they have maximised the power on offer with a close ratio gearbox and consistent torque throughout the rev range. The Himalayan will hold 70 mph all day, it doesn't slow down up the hills, and I saw an indicated 85 mph on a long straight. The engine is characterful, its long stroke motor delivering a really nice thump, and it's a nice engine to live with. The only road going downside to the Himalayan is the brakes, which are really not the strongest, and although there are braided lines, there isn't much power available. Perhaps experimenting with different brake pads might make a bit of a difference. But where the Himalayan really excels is its ability to go further, and all of its confidence-inspiring nature translates to the way that you ride it off the tarmac. It goes without saying that this is not the best off-road motorcycle in the world. In fact, during the shoot we were also on our WR250F Pure Enduro bike, which is a purpose-built competition machine. but the things that you can do with the Himalayan belies whatever perception you may have of it. You can pretty much chuck anything at the bike and it'll have a real good go. And it's that ability that gives you as the rider the confidence to say, yeah, I'll have a go at that, that impresses. Turning up at the trails that we had planned for it, on a normal adventure bike, I would be thinking, hey, I'm really not sure about this, with painful memories of dropping expensive and heavy adventure bikes coming flooding back to mind. On the Enfield, those thoughts quickly disappear. It's purely a case of point the wheel, apply the throttle, dab if you need to, and I'm pretty sure we're going to make this out alive. There isn't the same worry about scratching it, they're great crash bars fitted, the bike is rugged, and it's about a third of the cost of a big adventure bike with plentiful and cheap parts available. The whole Knox team can't but admire the Himalayan's dogged performance after all we put it through. It really did exceed all of our expectations, had us tackling really tough terrain, trying out different lines and even doing a few jumps. Ground clearance is a bit of an issue on the Himalayan if you ride on the rougher types of terrain that we took the bike on, and we ripped the sump guard to pieces in the process. But once you're aware of that limitation, it's simply a case of picking the right lines to cater for the lack of ground clearance on offer. Of course, on the plus side, the lack of ground clearance is the ability for less experienced riders to have confidence and be able to put their feet out as and when required. The engine and throttle has a real fluff to it. It makes it really difficult to get it to break traction. Another great characteristic for novice off-roaders, and it really maximises the traction available and your confidence as a rider. Our bike was fitted with the Pirelli MT60s, which are just about okay off-road with the tyre pressures dropped, but there are much grippier options for off-road available in the given wheel sizes on the Himalayan. In the Lake District, the legal trails that we have usually mix a lot of steep inclines and declines with large rocks in the way, most of which I'm pretty uncomfortable riding on a bigger adventure bike. But on the Himalayan, we'd give them all a good go, and the rough routes that we took it on displayed how capable the motorcycle is if you point it in the right direction. Our time with the Himalayan not only has me challenging my perceptions of what makes a great adventure bike, it also has me questioning what motorcycle adventure actually is. My conclusion is that we don't need to go and ride the Road of Bones or go to the Himalayas to experience adventure. Actually, real motorcycle adventure can be had by logging out of life for a few hours, finding a scenic road or a trail you haven't ridden before, perhaps trying something that challenges you past what you thought was possible and gets your heart going. But the real takeaway is that real motorcycle adventure is not only possible on the Royal Enfield Himalayan, it's much closer than you think. So we've had the Royal Enfield Himalayan these past couple of weeks. I've been riding it quite a lot in that time. Last couple of days I've had a bit of an injury, so I've not been riding it, but Ollie and Jeff have. Yep. And we've had just a wicked time doing so, haven't we?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we did the road section yesterday, and today we've been hitting up the green lanes.
Yes.
And it's definitely surprised us all, I think.
I think it has.
It's been a good crack so far.
Yeah, and you know, for me this bike is about adventure. You know, the clue's in the name, isn't it?
Definitely.
A Royal Enfield Himalayan. And you know, it just so happens obviously that we're based in the beautiful Lake District. So, you know, part of our thoughts with the production is that we would take it to the most beautiful places. So like we say yesterday, we were at Hard Knot Pass, which I don't know whether that's the highest road in England or it's the steepest. It's one of them.
Pretty scary.
It's pretty, yeah, it's pretty sketchy for a road. It's very steep, isn't it?
Yeah,
and very beautiful. Sort of capturing, you know, the road element of what you can do on a bike like this.
Definitely.
And then today, we had this little scout out of some areas that we can take it. Yes. And when we turned up, it's a bit rougher than what we thought, actually. But
yeah, Aaron sort of pointed out the pass and pointed out the lane, and he was just like, yep, we're going up there. And I was like, geez, okay. It was sort of like that with like boulders and all sorts. And I was like, well, I'll give it a shot, and look where we are. So.
Yeah, and to be fair, watching you guys, not only have I been green with envy because I wish I had been riding today, but it just looked like the bike just soaked it up.
Definitely,
You know?
it's super confidence inspiring. It really surprised me, to be fair. I just thought, we'll give it a shot, see what it's capable of, and yeah, we just hit that first lane and it just cruised on all the way up, and yeah, just no issues whatsoever. It just, you know, the torque on it, you just chug it up and in first, and it just, you know, goes all the way up really easily, and yeah, I was really surprised with it, to be fair.
Yeah,
it's been a really good crack.
You know, I have to say, like in the Lake District, and obviously green laning and stuff like that, you know, obviously we have quite a lot of them in the UK, legal trails like this that you can ride up and down on your motorbike. The majority of the work that we've got in the Lake District is actually really rough, and it's really rocky, really quite steep, because obviously we've got a lot of mountains here and stuff.
Definitely.
And generally speaking, on an adventure bike, and our class is an adventure bike, I'd steer pretty well clear, because, you know, they're just quite heavy and it's very hard to manage. Hello. And our star presenter we're introducing.
Where's he come from?
I think with this, there's a different confidence factor. The fact that when you sit on it, immediately your legs are like at the floor. You think, okay, well, do you know what? I'll probably give this a go. It might not be the cleanest thing. It might be a bit messy, but I'll have a go. And I think there's definitely a confidence inspiring factor.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, we dropped the tyre pressures a little bit. We took the rubbers off the pegs, and, you know, straight away it was sort of transformed into the, you know, being capable of going over that rocky stuff and having that bit more sort of handling off-road. And the suspension, there hasn't really been any major issues with it. It soaks up the bumps really well. I think Jeff would agree with that. Like you said, it's just super confidence inspiring. You can just go, leave it in first, just chug away, you know, and it just does the job really well. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it, to be fair, with the confidence.
But just adding into that confidence factor is the price point as well. It's got to be for me, you know, and if I'd have turned up at that trail like you this morning and got, bloody hell, I don't know whether we're going to do this or not, on a 20 grand bike, I'd have been thinking, do I really want to do this? You know, but actually the fact is, this is like a 4 grand bike pretty much. Maybe a little bit more. And you know that all these parts are replaceable, and you think, well, you know what, we've ended up absolutely mullering the sump guard, haven't we? But, you know, that's a replaceable part. It's not going to cost hundreds, you know, it's a bike that you can just get out there and flip it and chuck it up anything, you know?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, another thing to talk about is the tyres, you know. Initially we thought, oh, how's it going to get on with the sort of wet, greasy, rocky, grassy sort of lanes, and to be fair, there's been no issues. There's been no sort of front end slides, or the rear end doesn't, you know, come out at all. They've been really good, to be fair, and, you know, with this kind of bike you need them to be good on road and off road. And we were riding pretty much all day yesterday on the roads, and again, they did really well, you know, even on the steep cutbacks and stuff. So I think that it coped really well today, and there's something to say for that, like you said, that price point of the bike. You know, around that 4 grand mark, you know, you get what you pay for, but in a lot of aspects of it, you get a lot more bike than you know, that price point.
I think you do.
And yeah, if I was in the market for this kind of bike, you know, it'd definitely be a contender. And yeah, I think it's really capable for what it is as a standard bike. You know, this is it as it come out of the factory. We haven't actually changed anything on it at all. Standard suspension, standard tyres, everything, and it's just, you know, blown us all away. I think with the green lanes, Jeff's come off it, you know, he's been jumping it and all sorts, hasn't he?
We might put that shot in actually. We had a bit of a buckaroo moment, but which was a lot of fun. And, you know, also we've had our own WR250F as well. Obviously that is a bike built for this sort of trails, but the fact that you've both been going up in tandem up this trail is it's pretty impressive. For me personally, if I was doing more of this sort of stuff, I would change the tyres, because you know, when you get on the softer stuff, the soft grass and the mud, there isn't a lot of traction there with them, but they are good on the road, I'll give it that,
Definitely. Yeah, I think, I mean, overall, the bike, I think we should talk about the aesthetic side of it. You know, people, almost a Marmite bike, you know, some people don't really like it. I think everyone here would agree that it's a wicked looking bike, you know, with this backdrop, and it's just got character, like we said. It's
has.
just a cool looking bike. It's different. You know, we were up a pass yesterday and a guy turned up on a CRF and he's like, oh, is that the Himalayan? We're like, yeah. My friend's looking for one, and he took some photos and he was really chuffed, wasn't he?
He was, yeah.
It's definitely a cool looking bike.
It's quite endearing, I think, and it's got a lot of character. I think the fact as well that it's quite a simple motorcycle, you know, there's not a huge amount of electronics involved, there's no big LCD, but what Royal Enfield are good at is being really careful with the stuff. You know, I don't think it would fit Royal Enfield to have a big LCD screen, but they've got these real nice clocks that sort of tell you enough, as much as you need to know, but none of the stuff you don't. It's quite a simple motor. You know, if you're sort of an intermediate kind of rider, certainly in an off-road environment, you know, the throttle's got like quite a lot. It's like fluffy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not. The character is not going to spin up.
No. You know what you're going to get.
You know what you're going to get. Definitely. I think it's very tractable. It makes for a lot of traction. That sort of motor. Is it because it's a long stroke motor?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, the engine. It's around the 28 horsepower mark. 24 horsepower. It's not the most powerful of things, but it's done everything we need to do with it.
Yeah.
Just over 400 cc, long stroke. I mean, it's torquey, and there's a big thing to say for that. You know, people look at horsepower figures, but it's torque that you need on this kind of stuff. You're in, first gear, really low in the revs. You need it to just pull you up, and it does that really well. And I mean, the engine, it is what it is. It's it's got a 5-speed gearbox. We haven't needed to go in 6th gear. That's proper cruising speeds. But yeah, I mean, I've been really impressed with the bike overall. And like you said, I really like how simple it is. It's just, a bike, minimal electronics. The analog dash is wicked. It's just, solid and simple. And that's what I really like about it, I think. So,
any downsides, Ollie?
For me, we have been, bottoming it out big time. And not necessarily a downside, but you just have to pick, when you're doing the byways, you have to pick your lines really carefully, because unlike the WRF, you can just go and it doesn't matter what you hit, you just jump over it. But this you have to pick, which makes it fun because it's more technical, it's more interesting in that sense. Ground
clearance is an issue, basically. There's not a lot of it, and obviously as well, when you stood up on it and you're compressing into the ground, you could almost sort of like get it to bottom out just on the flat, and then obviously you're going to factor in a rock as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So ground clearance is an issue, and we've smashed the sump guard. So we'll have to get mangled. So we'll have to get a new one of them.
I think the next thing, the brakes, we haven't noticed it much off-road.
No.
You're using engine braking and rear braking just to put you where you want to go, but on the road, they stop you, and that's, they don't stop you fast. They will stop you, but I found myself using the rear brake a lot more than I would on a normal bike. But
it's not great. I mean, I totally agree with you on the front brake is not very good. I wonder whether you could get a more aggressive brake pad that would do a better job. They are braided lines. I was quite surprised, but you can pretty much pull the brake lever all the way back. Well, you can. I mean, that's back to the bar right now. So, there's not a lot of power there, basically.
I mean,
that is a downside for
definitely.
me. But maybe you can do something with that.
Yeah. So ground clearance, front brake, rear brake seems really good. It seems there's a lot of feel there. There's quite a bit of power. I wouldn't say it's a downside, but I wouldn't call it gutless either. It's just a bit boggy. In first gear is fine for this kind of stuff, but if we're on sort of an incline, going to second, it's sort of like chugged a little bit, and you almost have to wring its neck to get it to go. But it depends what you're going to be using it for, and it depends how you're going to be riding it, because if you're going on B roads and A roads, it's going to be a really gentle, easy going cruising bike, which is essentially what it's for. It's not built to race at all by any means. So that's the only things. Everything else, I think, really happy with it overall, I think. So
sure. I mean, and I agree on the power front. There's a lot of people who are really up for sort of the power range that it's got, but potentially, you know, in the future, and I think it's on the cards that they may develop a Himalayan in the future with a little bit more power. So I'm sure there'll also be customers that are quite interested in that, because as a package it's absolutely mint as it is, and I've been really impressed, and especially when you consider what, 4.5, something like that. It's it's bonkers when you consider how much motorcycles cost these days, and I think Royal Enfield have done an absolutely fantastic job with this Himalayan motorcycle.
I fully agree.
Okay, great. Well, look, I really hope we hope you've really enjoyed this review of the Himalayan. Please please comment. We'd love to hear what you think about this bike and about what we're doing as a channel and all that kind of stuff. If you want to check out the products that we've been wearing on test to protect ourselves, check them out there in the description below. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.
Cheers.